The planet Alaris was once filled with light. Towering glass cities rose high into the sky, powered by bright energy lines that pulsed like living veins across the surface. Humans had come here long ago, turning a cold and distant world into a thriving colony. But now the lights were dying. The great energy cores beneath the cities had begun to fail one by one. Nights grew longer, the wind colder, and silence replaced the soft hum of power that once filled the air. In the city of Viralone, only one small district still had warmth. Inside a lonely observatory on a hill, a single candle burned. Its golden glow flickered against the stone walls, casting long shadows that moved like ghosts. 2 humans sat inside, Commander Eric Vale, a soldier with weary eyes, and Dr. Lyra Kane, a scientist whose mind refused to give up on hope. The candlelight between them was weak, but it was still light, and that meant something. Arik leaned against the table, polishing the edge of his metal gauntlet. "You know," he said quietly, "we used to power entire cities with a single plasma core. Now we're down to a candle." Lyra smiled faintly, her face lit by the small flame. "Sometimes," she replied, "a candle is enough to remind us we're still alive." Outside, the wind howled across the frozen plains. Once ships flew in the sky, but now the stars were the only things that moved. Alaris had been cut off from Earth for almost 6 years. The last transmission from the human fleet had ended mid-sentence. Arik had stopped listening for signals long ago. But Lyra never stopped trying. Each night she tuned the old radio console, turning its dials carefully, searching for even a trace of human voice among the static. That night was no different. The radio hissed softly, the candlelight flickering beside it. "Still nothing," she murmured. "But maybe tomorrow." Arik looked at her and shook his head. "You've said that every day for 6 years." She didn't look away. "And you're still here to hear it." For a moment, silence fell between them again. Only the sound of the wind and the soft flicker of the candle filled the room. Then the ground trembled slightly. A distant boom echoed from the north. Arik stood at once, his instincts sharp. That wasn't wind. Lyra grabbed her scanner from the desk. Its old screen blinked weakly but showed faint energy readings. "It's coming from the old reactor site," she said quickly. "But that place should be dead." Arik tightened his armor straps. "Nothing on this planet should be moving," he said grimly. "Unless someone made it move." Lyra met his eyes. "You think it's aliens?" He hesitated. "If it is, we'll find out soon enough." They left the observatory together, stepping into the icy night. The stars above shimmered like frozen tears, and their breath turned to mist in the cold. They carried only small plasma torches, but their glow reflected off the snow, guiding them down the narrow path toward the ruins of the old reactor. It stood like a broken tower in the distance, surrounded by collapsed structures. The once bright energy lines leading to it were dark. As they approached, Arik stopped suddenly and raised his hand. "Look," he whispered. A faint blue light pulsed inside the tower. Lyra's heart quickened. "That's impossible." "The core should be gone." Arik motioned for silence. They moved closer, careful with every step. The air around the tower hummed faintly, the first sound of power they had heard in years. Inside, the old control chamber glowed with flickering blue light. Dust floated through the air, catching the faint illumination. In the center of the room stood a machine, round, cracked, but still alive. Lyra ran forward, her breath trembling. "This is the auxiliary energy sphere," she said. It was designed to restart the core if it ever failed. But it needed a power source. She turned slowly to Arik. "This isn't human energy." Before he could ask what she meant, the machine pulsed again. A shape appeared in the light, tall, shadowy, and alien. Arik drew his weapon instantly. "Step back, Lyra." The shape moved, shifting between solid and transparent, as if made of light and smoke. A calm voice echoed through the chamber, deep and strange. "Humans still walk this world," it said. Unexpected, Lyra froze. You can speak our language." The figure tilted its head. "We learned from your broadcast before the silence. We came when the stars dimmed." Arik kept his weapon raised. "You came here? Why?" The figure's glow dimmed slightly, almost sadly. "Because your kind burned too bright. The energy you used began to break the balance. We tried to stop the decay, but your machines fought back. The others left. We stayed." Lyra stepped forward, ignoring Arik's warning glance. "You mean you tried to save Alaris?" "Yes," the voice said softly. "But your leaders called us a threat." Arik lowered his weapon slightly. He remembered the war reports. The first contact gone wrong, the fear, the destruction. Maybe the truth had been twisted. Lyra's eyes shone in the blue light. "Can you bring the cores back?" The figure's glow flickered. "We can bring one back, but the balance will demand a price. Life for power," Auric stepped between them. "No deal," he said firmly. "We've lost too many already." But Lyra's expression was calm. "If one life could save thousands, isn't that what humanity was built on?" Auric turned sharply to her. "Don't even think about it." The alien shape dimmed again. "You will choose soon. The light cannot stay forever." Then it vanished. The blue glow faded, leaving only the sound of the wind once more. They returned to the observatory in silence. The candle was still burning where they had left it. Lyra sat beside it, staring at the small flame. Auric stood near the window, his reflection a dark silhouette against the pale night. "You're thinking about it," he said quietly. She didn't deny it. "If the alien is right, the planet will die soon. Everyone in the southern colonies. Everyone still hiding underground. They'll all freeze." Auric's voice was rough. "And if they're lying? What if they're just using us?" "Maybe," Lyra whispered. "But if we do nothing, we lose anyway." He sighed deeply and turned toward her. The candlelight reflected in his eyes, and their shadows stretched across the wall behind them, long and soft, almost touching. He knelt down beside her, his voice low. "You're not trading your life for light, Lyra. Not while I'm breathing." She looked up at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Then breathe carefully, Commander, because I might need you to help me do it." The wind outside grew stronger, shaking the walls, but inside the candle still burned, small but steady. Their shadows moved with the flickering flame, two shapes that refused to fade, even as the world around them grew darker. And in that fragile moment, surrounded by silence and cold, the last light of Alaris was human. Outside, snow continued to fall soft and silent, covering the ruins of the once great city of Virelon. In the cold dawn, the sky turned pale gray. The light that crept through the window was weak, almost lifeless, but still it came. Commander Auric Vale had not slept. He stood near the old glass window, watching the distant tower where the alien energy had flickered last night. The memory of that blue glow haunted him. The voice, calm and deep, had sounded neither cruel nor kind, just ancient, like it carried truths humans were never meant to know. Behind him, Dr. Lyra Kane stirred awake on the floor beside the candle. She had fallen asleep with her head resting on her arm, the small flame still burning beside her. For a moment, Auric just watched her. In the light, she looked fragile, yet stronger than anyone he had ever known. When she opened her eyes, she found him still staring out the window. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked softly. Auric shook his head. "Not after what we saw." She got up slowly and stretched her arms. "The alien spoke the truth, Auric. The southern colonies sent their last signal yesterday. The cold reached them. We may be the last humans alive on this planet." Auric turned, his jaw tight. "Then that's even more reason not to trust it. Whatever that thing was, it wants something from us." Lyra looked down at the small flame between them. "And maybe we want something from it too," he sighed. "You're talking about sacrifice again." She met his eyes. "I'm talking about survival." The wind rattled the observatory door and both turned at the sound. Auric drew his sidearm, his instincts sharp, but it was only the storm outside. Still, the sound made them realize how fragile everything had become. Walls cracking, food running low, power nearly gone. The human colony on Alaris had lasted decades, but now it was crumbling piece by piece. Only 2 people remained to remember what humanity had built here. By noon, Lyra had prepared her instruments again. The radio hummed faintly as she tried to retune it to the same signal from the reactor site. Static filled the air, broken only by the occasional pulse of sound. Then, for a brief second, something answered. A deep tone, not human but rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Auric rushed over. "That's not static." Lyra's hands moved fast over the dials. "It's a pattern, the same pulse the alien energy gave off." A new voice, faint and digital, spoke through the static. "Humans, choose soon." The cold rises. The core fades. Lyra froze. "It's calling us." Auric clenched his fists. "It's manipulating us." But deep down, he knew she was right. The cold was rising. The walls were starting to frost from inside. If the main core failed completely, even their candle would not last an hour. Finally, he sighed and said, "If we go back, we go together." Lyra nodded once. Together. They prepared what little gear they had left. 2 plasma torches, 1 weapon, a scanner, and the last emergency power cell. As they stepped outside, the wind bit at their faces and snow swirled around their boots. The sky above was covered in gray clouds, dimming the daylight. The path to the old reactor tower felt longer this time. The cold air burned their lungs and their footprints disappeared behind them almost instantly. When they reached the tower, it was glowing faintly again, blue light pulsing like the slow breath of something alive. They entered cautiously. The same control chamber waited inside, the cracked sphere at its center humming weakly. "Welcome," said the alien voice, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. The figure of light began to form once more, tall, graceful, and shifting like mist. Auric raised his weapon. "No tricks this time, talk." The figure regarded him silently before speaking. "Your world dies, your people fade, but your fire still burns. We can keep it alive." Lyra stepped forward. "You said there would be a price." "What do you mean?" The light pulsed. "Energy and life are one. To awaken the core, we need the spark of a living mind. Human energy burns brightest. It can restart the flow." Auric's voice hardened. "So someone dies to save the planet?" "Yes," the voice said simply. Lyra took a deep breath. "Then take mine." Auric turned sharply. "No, you're not doing this." "Auric," she said softly, "you can fight the cold, but you can't fight time. We're running out of both. If this works, maybe others will live." He stepped closer, eyes fierce. "You think I'll just let you throw your life away?" She smiled faintly. "Not throw away and give it meaning." For a long moment, the two just stood there in silence. The alien light flickered around them like a heartbeat, blue shadows moving over their faces. Then the alien spoke again. "There is another way." Both turned. "Explain," Auric demanded. The figure's light dimmed slightly. "Two sparks may combine. Shared will, shared strength. 2 lives joined in purpose can create balance. One may not need to die." Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean both of us together?" "Yes," said the alien. "But your bond must be strong. If it breaks, both lights will end." Auric's gaze met hers. The years they had spent surviving, the countless nights of silence, the hope they had shared. It all came down to this. He reached out his hand. "Then let's do it together." She took his hand, her fingers trembling slightly but sure. "Together," the alien motioned toward the sphere. "Place your hands on the surface. Focus on your flame, the memory of your people, your home, your light." They approached slowly. The sphere glowed brighter as they neared, its hum deepening. When their hands touched the surface, a surge of warmth rushed through them. For a moment, Lyra gasped, not from pain, but from feeling alive. The blue light flowed into her skin, bright veins of energy tracing up her arms. Auric felt it too, the strange pulse syncing with his heartbeat. The alien voice echoed softly. "Now remember your fire." Lyra closed her eyes. She remembered the bright skies of Earth, the laughter of children in the colonies, the hum of the old power lines that once lit up Ilaris like a second sun. She remembered the sound of Auric's voice in the quiet nights. Auric remembered his old squad, the promise to protect his people, and the single candle flame that refused to die. Their memories intertwined, becoming one shared light. The sphere began to glow fiercely, brighter and brighter, until the room filled with white light. The sound of the storm outside faded. The air trembled as the ancient power awoke once more. Then silence. When the light dimmed, the alien figure was gone. The sphere still glowed softly, its energy steady and alive. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Her body felt weak but warm. Auric stood beside her, his hand still holding hers. They were both alive. "It worked," she whispered. Auric smiled faintly. "You were right, together." They stepped outside the tower, and what they saw took their breath away. Across the plains, faint lines of blue light were spreading, energy veins reawakening, flowing from the reactor toward the distant cities. The sky above them brightened slightly as if the world itself had taken a deep breath after a long sleep. "The cores are reconnecting," Lyra said in awe. "We did it." Auric looked at the horizon. "No, you did it. You never gave up," she shook her head. "We both carried the light. That's what humans do. We endure." They watched the light spread farther, cutting through the snow and ice, bringing color back to the gray land. As the first warmth returned to the air, Auric reached into his coat and pulled out the small candle they had carried from the observatory. The flame was still burning, small but steady. He placed it on a rock, its glow joining the returning light of the world. Their shadows stretched long in front of them, dancing softly together in the glow. For the first time in years, Alaris breathed again, and in that quiet, the last words of the alien echoed faintly in their minds. The fire of humanity never fades. It only waits for someone brave enough to share it. The cold winds had softened. For the first time in years, the sun broke through the gray clouds above Alaris, sending golden light across the frozen land. The air shimmered faintly with heat as the old energy lines across the plains glowed once again, humming with life. From the hilltop observatory, Commander Auric Vale watched the horizon in silence. The world looked alive again, the snow melting, the skies clearing, and the wind carrying warmth instead of frost. Yet deep inside him, he knew this was only the beginning. Behind him, Dr. Lyra Kane adjusted the radio transmitter. Its old circuits buzzed, stronger now with the returning energy. She had been trying all morning to send a message to the southern colonies, her voice calm but firm. "This is Dr. Lyra Kane, from Virelon Observatory," she said into the mic. "The core is reactivated. Repeat, the planetary core is reactivated. Anyone still alive, respond." For a long moment, there was only static. Then faintly, a crackling voice answered. "This is Outpost 7. Reading you, Virelon. We see the lights. Systems are warming up. You did it." Lyra covered her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. "They're alive," she whispered. Auric turned toward her, and for the first time in years he smiled. A real, deep smile that reached his eyes. "Told you the fire never dies." They stood there together, the warmth of the morning light touching their faces. In that moment, all the fear, pain, and silence of the past years seemed to fade away. Alaris was breathing again. Later that day, they explored the area surrounding the reactor. What had once been silent ruins now buzzed with new life. The alien sphere at the center of the tower glowed softly, its energy stable and calm. Lyra walked around it carefully, scanning the readings on her handheld device. The energy levels are steady. Whatever that being did, it merged with the system permanently. It's like it became part of the planet. Auric stood beside her, looking at the blue light pulsing gently inside the core. "Do you think it's still aware?" She paused. "Maybe. Or maybe it left something behind, a memory. A bridge between us," he nodded slowly. "Then maybe we weren't enemies after all. The truth had taken years to uncover. Humanity had come to Alaris to expand, to build, to control. But in their hunger for power, they had ignored the balance that already existed on the planet. The alien beings weren't conquerors, they were guardians, trying to protect the world from collapse. And now, after all that loss, two humans had finally done what the first settlers never could. They had listened. That night, Auric and Lyra lit the candle once more inside the observatory. The golden flame flickered softly, though it no longer had to fight against the dark. It was now a symbol, a reminder of the moment when hope refused to die. Lyra sat at the old metal desk, writing in her logbook. Her words were simple but filled with quiet strength. Day 1 of the renewal. The world breathes again. Humans and Alarian light coexist. Our shadows dance together, not in fear but in peace. Auric placed a cup of warm synth tea beside her. "You're writing history again," he said with a grin. She smiled back. "Someone has to." He leaned on the table beside her. "So what now, Dr. Kane?" "We saved the planet. What's next for the heroes of Alaris?" She looked out the window. The stars above shone bright and steady. "We rebuild. We send word to Earth, and maybe—" She paused, glancing at him. "We start living again." Auric chuckled softly. "Living. That sounds nice." Over the next few weeks, the change spread fast. The reactivated energy lines reached the southern colonies, reviving long-dead systems. Heat returned to the underground shelters, and power flickered back in the city ruins. Humans who had been silent for years began to send messages again, faint at first, then stronger, until a network of voices filled the airwaves once more. The people of Alaris called it the Second Dawn. Everywhere, humans spoke of the mysterious light that had saved them, of the observatory where two survivors had reignited the planet's heart. No one knew the full story, but everyone felt its meaning. Humanity's fire still burned bright. One evening, as Auric was repairing a damaged drone on the hill, a sudden flash of light appeared above the plains. It was brief but beautiful, a ripple of blue energy that danced across the sky like northern lights. He called out, "Lyra, you seeing this?" She ran out from the observatory, her scanner in hand. "Yes!" The energy pulse is spreading through the upper atmosphere. It's cleansing the toxic layers. The planet is healing itself. They watched together as the sky shimmered with color, blue, gold, and silver mixing in gentle waves. It was like watching the heartbeat of Alaris itself. Lyra whispered, "It's beautiful." Auric nodded slowly. "It's alive." For a moment he thought he saw a shape within the lights, tall and faint like the alien figure they had met. It stood in the glow, then slowly faded into the horizon, leaving only warmth behind. "Do you think that was it?" Auric asked quietly. Lyra smiled. Maybe it wanted to say goodbye. He looked at her, then back at the sky. Or maybe it just wanted to remind us and we're not alone. As months passed, Virelon grew bright again. The observatory became a center of hope. Survivors came from distant colonies, following the light that had returned to the planet. They built shelters, reactivated old machines, and restored communication arrays. Lyra and Auric guided them, helping rebuild what humanity had almost lost. People began planting crops again, children played in the open air, and laughter replaced the silence that once ruled Alaris. One day, as they stood overlooking the growing settlement, a new message arrived through the radio, this time from deep space. "This is Earth Command. We received your signal. Rescue fleet en route. Estimated arrival 190 days. Hold fast, Alaris. Humanity stands with you." Cheers erupted across the camp. Some cried, some shouted, and others simply stood in shock. After all the years of isolation, Earth had finally heard them. Lyra looked at Auric, eyes shining. "We made it back to the stars," he grinned. "No, we brought the stars back to us." That night they celebrated under the open sky. Fires burned across the valley, music echoed, and for the first time in a decade, joy filled the air. Auric and Lyra stood a little apart from the crowd, watching the people dance in the firelight. The candle from the observatory burned beside them on a rock, its soft glow mingling with the orange flames of the camp. Their shadows stretched across the ground, joining with the others, hundreds of human shapes moving together in light. Lyra watched the scene quietly. "You know, when I first came here, I thought science alone could save us. Equations, data, logic. But in the end," she smiled, "it was faith. Faith that light could come again." Auric nodded slowly. "Sometimes it takes more than machines to keep a world alive. Sometimes it takes people who refuse to let the dark win." She looked up at him, the candlelight reflecting in her eyes. "Thank you, Auric, for staying." He smiled faintly. "Always." As the night deepened, the people of Alaris sang songs of Earth, of survival, and of hope. Above them the sky shimmered once more, faint streaks of blue light weaving among the stars. The alien energy and human spirit had joined, creating something new, something that would never fade. Lyra leaned against Auric, her voice soft. "Do you think they'll remember us?" He wrapped an arm gently around her shoulders. "Maybe, but that's not what matters." She looked up, curious. "Then what does?" He pointed toward the horizon where the first true dawn of the new world was rising. "That they keep the fire burning and then pass it on." The sun broke over the hills, turning the snow into gold. Warm light flooded across the valley, across the ruins, across the new homes and the faces of the people who had endured. And there, on the hill, two shadows danced together one last time in the glow of candlelight. A small flame standing proud against the endless sky.